it's Jen, and today I'm doing something fun. I am doing a watercolor video, which I have been watercoloring like crazy. If you have seen my Instagram feed and been following me there or on Facebook, I haven't shared a lot here on YouTube yet because I don't feel like I have any authority in that area. But today I'm going to be testing out the Arteza watercolor half pans. This is the 12 set. There's also a 36 pan set, and I am going to be swatching them, and then I'm also going to paint a little floral like bouquet or something at the end of the video. So be sure to watch for that if you're interested. But I wanted to show you, first of all, I have a few things that I have out that I'm going to use to help me do my watercolor swatching today. So I just thought I'd go over those supplies really quickly. This awesome Waffle flower stamp set is made specifically for swatching stuff. In fact, it is called, I don't know what it's called. Oh, Color Swatches. And basically it has different stamps that you can use to swatch watercolors and ink colors. I just stamped on some watercolor paper. I stamped this little stamp, and it has stamps for the brand and the paper kind that you're using, and then I also stamped pan because Arteza also has tube watercolors, which I do have, but I haven't tried the pans yet. So they did send me this, but I kind of told them what I would like to try out, and I'm loving watercolor, so I'm excited to try these out. And also it comes with a little tiny water brush, which I thought was pretty cool. The tip of it is just synthetic, and you can see the water starting to come out a little bit here. But it just, it's not a super fine tip, but it works great enough. I'm going to use it for my swatching. I don't know that I'll use it for my floral little painting that I'm going to do later, but I have a bunch of brushes off here to the side that I might dip into, and then I have some water right here as well. I'm using a Sharpie there's little lines in between these, or like little notches where you could draw a line on the swatch. And basically the idea is, as far as I know, because I don't know much, but the idea is that you can draw a line with a Sharpie before you paint on it, and then you can draw a line after, and then you can kind of really tell how translucent that the paint is, so that you can tell if it's like really good watercolors are pretty translucent, or some are a little bit more opaque. Just depends on the brand and the colors and the pigment information. Anyway, so I am going to go ahead with that. I stamped the stamp with intense black ink from Close to My Heart. It says specifically on the back that this is great for stamping to coloring with watercolors, and so that's what I'm going to do today because it's a waterproof ink. So you just use any ink that you know is waterproof. And then after I do, I'm just going to do swatch the colors here, but then after that I have my larger, this is my Jean Davenport journal. It's a watercolor journal, and I'm going to mix all the colors on this swatch that I've made. So this is 12 by 12, and that's what I'll need to get all of the combinations of colors. And I find that when I get new watercolors, this is so helpful to do. I did it with my Alta New watercolors, which have 36, or I don't know, they have some crazy amount, and I did it across multiple pages of watercolor paper, but it really helped me know which colors mix well together. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started really quickly. I want to open this up to show you how it comes. So it comes in a package with both of these in it, and then you open this and it's in a tin, which I love these little tins. They're so portable and easy to use. And then it also comes with this little card that has the colors on it. And in fact, it has, oops, there we go. It has some numbers here. So I'm going to use those numbers to write next to my swatches so that I know what's what. And I can keep track of them that way. It's just a simple little thing, but these obviously aren't the colors swatched out, so those aren't, you know, accurate to the colors that they are, but these are the colors, and I'm going to go ahead and get swatching.
So I've gone ahead and sped this up quite a bit just so that you don't have to watch me slowly doing this.
And I just have a little piece of paper towel off to the side of me to clean off my brush in between colors. And I'm just basically, what I'm doing is swatching the color kind of full strength on the top, and then on the bottom I am just making it go fade from light to dark. So I'm putting full strength on the left third and then going and just adding water in to fill in the rest so that I can see how light it can get. You'll see that I just switched out my brush. I pretty much wasn't loving that water brush. I don't have a lot of control with it. So I don't know, it flows differently than other water brushes that I have, so it's not my favorite. But if you're using it for like a kid's craft or something where you don't need a lot of control on the water, it's fine. But I personally don't love that Arteza water brush that comes with it. So you can see the colors are very interesting here for a 12 color palette. I don't know. Usually colors like this aren't the kind that like draw me in, that make me want to jump and play with these colors. But you'll see as I start mixing the colors and swatching them all together here, which is what I'm doing now, you'll see that you can get some very interesting shades. So basically what I'm doing is I took each color and I labeled it on the sides and on the top, and then where they match up in the middle is where I'm mixing those two colors together, basically 1-to-1, like 1-to-1 ratio of each color, and getting the colors that mix in between. So diagonally down the center is where the regular full strength colors are. And you can see on my palette, I just like laid out the color and then I mixed each color with it and colored it in on the color chart. And because they're labeled on both sides, there are two places where each color will go. So I'm just filling them both in at once. I really, really love all of the colors mixed with the color that I'm using now, which I think is, oh, it's something with an A. I can't remember what the color is called now. I'll say it at the end of the video, but I really love those pinks and purpley tones that I'm getting here. And I really love the blue tones I was able to achieve as well. So you can see as you mix the colors together, the palette seems a lot more versatile. So I really feel like if you have a small palette like this, or if you want to work with a limited palette of maybe 6 colors or something like that, definitely take the time to swatch them out like this so you can see all of the combinations you can get, because you'll be surprised at what lies in store for you and what you can achieve with just a few colors. Alright, so while those were drying, I had a little bit of a play and just made this little bubble thing on a scrap piece of paper. This is something that if you've been watching my videos lately, I've been using stuff like this in my scrap. I've been putting it in my scraps and then using it in layers on my scrapbook pages, and I love it. So I'm just going to throw this into my little scrap bin. So I've already got my palette kind of dirty and mixing and getting things going. I just wanted to get a feel for how the colors play together before I jump into doing a like a floral something or other. But I wanted to show you that, sorry, I'm going to stand up really quick actually, that the colors are pretty, you can see on the, especially on the lemon yellow, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, I can't tell very well from the camera, but it is definitely a bit foggy on when it's going over that line, and some of the colors more than others. The fern green especially, the cad red light was pretty, it went over, but they're really actually pretty good. And for me, this is kind of an interesting palette. This is the 12 color palette. I would definitely suggest trying the 36 color palette. You get, I think, you get a whole bunch more colors, 24 more colors for like $10 more. So it's worth it to get the bigger one, I think. But I wanted to show you too, like, look at all of the different colors you can get from just mixing these seemingly boring colors. Like all of these colors here can make all of these right here. And there are some that I wasn't like super excited about. I do like the way that the black makes kind of these neutrals or these kind of grayed out mauve colors. I really love the colors right in here. And I really love the blues as well. And I pretty much loved everything that was mixed with jade green. So that's this line right here. Let me just see if I can like... So those colors I really loved. The other line of colors that I really loved, I loved Amaranth with everything. And so between that one and the jade green, I've got like all of the colors that I love. So if I mix Amaranth or jade green with anything, I know I'm going to pretty much like it. And I really like what the sepia looks like mixed with the Amaranth as well. I don't know, there's just, I feel like the first few lines were very, very similar because the yellows, you got some different tones when we got into the yellow ochre, but those two yellows were pretty similar, although I was surprised at what, like the yellow mixed with the jade really made a fluorescent green kind of, and that surprised me. So I'm just rubbing my hand over this to show you that they don't flake off. I do have like super cheap watercolors right here. You can see these are like the ones that you get from like Robert's. Look at that. That's horrendous. I'm gonna have to wash my hand. Anyway, so I'm just gonna play around now, and I'm going to I have some, I'm not going to paint in my sketchbook because I want to reference this so I can mix colors while I'm working, but I have a whole bunch of just watercolor paper scraps, and I'm just going to play on those for a minute, and I'll let you watch me. Alright, so I seriously debated editing out these next few parts because I was really not happy with the way that my paintings were coming out, but I decided to leave it in because then you can just see my struggle. But I really love the color mixing that I was able to achieve here, and I love those purpley colors. I was trying for kind of a fallish color palette, but my composition got away from me, and I struggle with composition quite a lot. So it's something that I need to work on, but I'm just kind of playing around, adding in some different colors. I love that orange color, and just kept adding to it. I like to add a little bit of darkness towards the centers or towards the edges, just give a little color variation. And I actually kind of like the way that flower turned out, but I just tossed that right away. I didn't toss it, but I put it in a little bin for me to use in scrapbooking if I want some layers where I'm not going to see the whole thing, because I wasn't super pleased with it. So here I'm trying out something else, and I'm referring to another painting that I've done before where I do like the composition, and so I'm just going to start playing around with some different colors. So I'm again using that kind of mauve color, and then I made kind of a rusty orange. I filled the centers of the flowers with this dark brown, and I will add to that once it's dry. I'll add a little bit more on darkness on top of it to make it pop more. I kind of was trying to make the centers look like poppies or something, I don't know, or black-eyed Susans almost. And I'm just going to play around with the leaves here. You can see I'm using a different brush. I didn't like the water brush, and I'm using my Escoda brush. I will link to it if I can remember to. But I really, really love that brush. It has a lot of snap, which is good for creating leaves and getting your thicks and thins, which is important to me anyway. Okay, so I'm just adding some leaves, and I'm kind of adding some droopy leaves. I want them to kind of just kind of cascade downward. I wasn't super thrilled with the way that the stems of my little berries turned out. They're kind of like coming from all the different directions, but whatever, it's fine. And I wanted to use a bunch of different colors of green for the leaves. I find that I like it better when my composition has more than one color of leaf. I think it looks more natural, more, I don't know, it looks like it's supposed to be that way. Anyway, I added in a little bit of red here, and I tried to add some red in between those kind of pinkish purpley leaves, and it's just kind of a big blob right now. It's just kind of fading into the background. I'm not loving it, but I will come back to it in a minute here. So I'm adding some kind of foresty green, but it's kind of like almost a deep teal color around the berries. And then I'm adding in some more olive tones, and I'm also adding in some kind of spring green leaves as well. So I kind of like the variation of all the leaves. Now at this point, like after I'm looking at this now, I like it better than I did when I was painting it, but I don't know, it's still not my favorite. I tend to overwork things, which means that I just keep adding or trying to move the paint around. With watercolor, you really have to find a way to let go and just let it do what it's going to do, rather than trying to mess with it and make it perfect. At this point, I'm adding in some really faded colors to get some leaves that look like they're further back in the background. And so I'm just using more water on my brush to achieve that look. And then I'm going to let my painting dry, and I'm going to come back in and I'm going to do some detail work. So the layers are pretty much dry, and I'm just taking a fairly dry brush and getting a bit of a darker shade of each color here, and I'm going in and adding some lines to my flowers, and I will also add some to my leaves. And I'm just wanting to add a bit of detail to make things stand out a little bit more. And I zoomed in a little bit for you here. I've got a teeny tiny detail brush that I'm working with now, and that's an Escoda brush as well. I like that for doing really fine lines. And just, you can see I'm adding different things on the leaves. So some of the leaves just have one little line on it. Some of the leaves I will do lots of veins on and different things, and then some of the leaves will just get a few. And so I like the variation there, and I'm just trying to, you know, give it a little bit of detail and a little bit of texture just for a little something extra. But I do feel like in the end it ends up looking overworked. I don't know. You can let me know how you feel about it, but that's kind of how I'm feeling. I need a little bit more practice. I need to get back to watercoloring every day. Here I'm trying to add in some more darker tones, and again, it just ends up looking overworked to me. But you know, whatever, c'est la vie. Alright, well there it is done. If this painting is anything, it's overworked. I don't know, I'm out of practice, but it was fun painting anyway, and I did get some cool fall colors that I liked. So there we go. And I want to show you just one more quick little painting that I did. So I have this paper that's just slightly bigger than a card front, and I'm going to attempt to use the Arteza water brush to just do a quick rose surface pattern. So I'm going to cover the whole paper, and I'm going to do some kind of fallish purpley colors. So here we go. Alright, so I was a lot happier with this one. I'm not, as I mentioned before, I'm not super thrilled with this water brush. But it was fun to add these colors. So you can see I'm starting with like a pinky color, and then I'm adding in a purpley color. I'll even add a little bit of blue along the edges, and then I'm just tapping in some yellow. And you can tap in different colors while the area is still wet, and you can get some really nice effects. So I'm just kind of filling in the background with the flowers. If I would have thought about this, I might have left a little bit more space between them so I had more room for the leaves that I'll add in a little bit, but I didn't, so it's all good. I'll just let it be what it will be. So that one I added a lot more blue to, and then I realized maybe I should add some more blue to a few other ones because that one's looking really blue now. And so I will add a little bit more blue in here, and I'll also add some blue into some of the leaves to bring that in too. So basically I'm just using a few different shades of green, and I love to just do one shade of green and then touch in another color to it. So that's basically what I'm doing. I'm using that kind of spring green and then touching in a little bit of that kind of evergreen teal color to it to give it some variation. And I feel like that's one of the beauties of watercolors, is the variation in color. So I was a lot more happy with the way that this one turned out, and I'll come and tell you about it. Alright, there's that. I'm not super thrilled with it, but it kind of looks cool in the end. I kind of feel like every time I watercolor, I hate it at first and then it grows on me a little bit. So this is one of those. I actually really like this as a pattern. The individual roses are not my favorite, and I just feel like I am like falling back because I haven't painted for so long. I just wanted to show you a quick flip through of some of the paintings I've done. This is like from when I first was starting to paint, and I feel like I've gotten worse because I haven't been practicing, although some of these are really just I mean, this isn't great, but it was a good practice for me. So these are just, you know, playing around. I tend to overwork things and I hate that. But like, I really like this. This one was okay. This was what I was kind of trying to recreate when I painted this, but I way overworked it. So it does look similar, but anyway. So anyway, that is my painting for now. I'm trying, I'm learning, I'm growing, I think. You got to keep at it. If you want to watercolor, just keep trying. I like the way this turned out, and that's kind of what I was going for with this. And I actually like this more, I think. But anyway, so I hope that you have a good day, and I hope that you have enjoyed. If you're looking to get some watercolors and you're not sure what to get and you're just starting out, I think these are actually really great. I wish the color selection was greater, so I would recommend getting the 36 pan set rather than the 12. Although with the 12, I was surprised at the amounts of different colors I could get, as you can see from this chart. So I actually ended up using that last sample in a scrapbook layout in my layers. You can kind of see it here, that purple floral pattern. So I was happy with the way that that came about and ended up on my layout. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Here are a couple other links to other Arteza products that I've tried out if you're interested. And be sure to hit that subscribe button. I post new videos each week, and hit that notification bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.